Flathead Lake Monster by Hunter Allen. It's amazing how sometimes the most fictional things can become reality. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion on what is fact and what is fiction, but some need a nudge to open their minds to the unlikely. My family and I got our nudge when we saw the Flathead Lake Monster. My family used to always take trips to Big Fork, Montana to visit our cousins when I was younger. Their home was right next to a beautiful lake called Flathead Lake, which is home to one of Montana's biggest legends, the Flathead Lake Monster. We were told the legend when we were at a restaurant that makes a soda named after the monster. The serpent-like beast is 30 feet long and weighs nearly 1,000 pounds. It lurks at the bottom of the lake and only comes to the surface to feast on lonely swimmers, our waiter said. Countless swimmers have gone missing, and the monster will only take more lives. The only warning he gives you is a dark circle appearing around his victims with bubbles rising from the water, he added. No way, there's no such thing as monsters. People would have found it by now if that many people went missing, my mom said. It's true, Lynn. We've seen it ourselves. The dark puddle, the bubbles, everything, my Auntie Jackie said. You guys are crazy. This is just to bring tourists in and we're not falling for it, my dad said. Let's prove them wrong then, Dad, I said. Let's go to the night to see if it's true, I continued. No, whatever you do, don't go on that lake, especially at night, the waiter finished. You know what? Let's do it. We'll unhitch the boat tomorrow at 6, my dad said. So we daringly made our plans to go to the lake and prove this legend wrong. After dinner, we went back home to my auntie's house to rest up for the day we had ahead of us. When the time came for us to establish the legend as folklore, we began to get nervous. We waited on the boat until someone offered to get on the inner tube. You were talking big game at the restaurant, Hunter. Why are you being so quiet now? My dad said. Fine, I'll be the first one to prove this legend wrong, I replied. I'll go too. It wouldn't be right to let him go alone. I'll be the good person and go with him, my Auntie Jackie said. We hopped on, and at that moment, I hoped that I was right about the monster. Once my dad started up the boat, my auntie and I made a promise to each other. If I fall off, you better fall off with me, said my auntie. All right, same goes for me, I replied. After a long fight with the wake, my auntie suddenly let go to free herself from the wild ride. I'm sorry, Auntie, I said, as the boat began to come back around. I got back on the boat before we picked up my auntie, who was stranded in the lake. When we pulled up next to her, we shined the flashlight on her, only to see a massive, dark puddle surrounding her. We all began to scream and rushed to get my auntie back on the boat. Once she was in, we raced back to the docks and never came back to the lake again. It's always important to have a mind that is not closed off to the unlikely. Maybe the unbelievable is just the unreasonable to some.